All right, help me understand this whole collective consciousness abstract thing that you were talking about before, Graham. I don't get that. Why is this collective consciousness so important? Well, so let's take this back to the example that I mentioned before about some people coming from another place and imposing their realities. Well, you may look around and be like, hey man, everybody looks the same. What are you talking about? Well, hey, I didn't say that, there hasn't been intervention along the way to remove things. But just because you remove a physical entity doesn't mean that you removed its influence and its presence, and that's where the collective consciousness comes into play. I'll give you two examples. Well, okay, let's think about a dinner. Let's think about a dinner party, or just a party in general. Right, inside of a party, so you got a party of 100 people, you've got all kinds of personalities and perspectives and goals and opinions and outcomes out there, right? And as you go through and you talk to different people, those different people are going to share their different perspectives and thoughts with you, right? Based on how they choose to see the world. Now, as you have these conversations, their perspectives are either going to influence yours, or you're going to say, hey, that might be you, but that's not me. Now, what happens in the collective consciousness is that the difference is that unproductive, manipulative, whatever you want to call it, thoughts, beliefs, etc. Once those things exist in the collective consciousness, that means they exist in the thoughts of all. And so it's not just as simple as removing a biologic entity off a planet. You got to work out of the consciousness the remnants of them, or the remnants of their beliefs, is really what I should say. Right? And those beliefs of using fear, beliefs of control, that scarcity, that war, right, are all things that are normal or part of the human condition. They're not. And so when it comes to the collective consciousness and shaping reality, right, our thoughts shape our reality. Yes, in one sense, our thoughts manifest what happens to us, but in another sense, our thoughts are simply how we choose to perceive what it is that happens to us. And so in both cases, our thoughts absolutely determine our reality. And the great news is you have control over how you think and what you think. You may not necessarily have control over what pops into your head, but as long as you take an unproductive or a negative or a fear-based thought and transform it into something productive, positive, love-based, now that's how you maintain control of yourself, your collective, your personal consciousness as well then, as positive contributions to the collective. And so I know this one might be a little challenging to wrap your mind around, but weather, disease, those all come from a negative or a sick collective consciousness. All of the negative thoughts towards other people, the hate, the anger, well, those manifest themselves physically in these forms. And so, again, if it works one way, that means it works another. So that means as all of this crazy weather and other things that's coming our way occurs, well, how do we stop that? Besides it being part of the restoration process, in order to be able to move into the golden age, and that means humanity understanding how to understand its thoughts and the power of its thoughts to create a more beautiful and peaceful environment for all. And so when you think about the human experience, yes, while there's the physical nature of it, the contributions that matter are the contributions that are made in the collective consciousness, not so much here on the physical plane. And so when you again look at people, look at animals, look at anything, when you understand that everything is playing its own role and its purpose into the collective consciousness, you understand that everything then deserves to be supported. Everything deserves to be loved. Everything deserves to be understood. Everything, not deserved, everything is worthy of love. Everything is worthy of being understood. Everything is worthy of being supported. Provided, again, with the caveat that it's operating inside of the intelligent design, which for this I'll just say simply put, I'll say not imposing your will upon others. So as long as you're not imposing your will upon others, then you absolutely are worthy of being supported and loved. But when you start imposing your will, you're still worthy of love, of course. But just understand that the support from the universe is going to come in very different ways, shapes, and form, size, shapes, and form. However, if you're looking to impose your will upon others, you're absolutely, of course, worthy of love. However, the support that and guidance you receive from the universe is going to come in various forms. And it's going to come typically in the forms of catalysts to correct you, not to continue to do more harm. We'll know when we're getting closer to the golden age, when society is able to at least value and appreciate the contributions that an individual makes to the collective consciousness just as much as they do to what the person contributes on the physical plane. If you want to think about, this is my tip on this topic in your health. When it comes to being healthy, it's not just as a biologic entity, right? That's just all about what you put into your mouth. But I think we'd all agree that there's plenty of people that I eat healthy. Why am I not? Why is my human suit, my body, not being healthy? Well, as entities of consciousness, when it comes to being healthy, the first thing is the thoughts in your head, the feelings in your heart. Then it's the food and of whatever it is that you put into your system.